Hello and welcome to The Other Marthas, the show where a drama student and a film graduate try to make sense of things we wish we were qualified in instead. A quick disclaimer before we get started. We don't claim to be experts in any of the fields we'll be discussing, so while everything we say will be based on individual research, it's all just a bit of fun and we suggest you take everything we say with a pinch of salt. I'm Martha, the drama student.
And I'm the other Martha, the film graduate.
And we're doing something a little bit different today, aren't we, Martha?
Yes, we are, Martha.
Would you like to explain, partly for my benefit? We're sort of freestyling this episode.
Because researching is hard, every third episode we plan to have a more casual, conversation-based episode.
Yeah, a bit of a chat, what we've been up to, what you've been up to, but frankly, that's not what we're going to talk about.
In the future, it may become part of these episodes that we do talk about what our listeners are up to, if you care to tell us.
Yeah, we'll also be playing little games and doing bits and bobs of like dream analysis, little mini stories, things like that to keep it interesting.
A truer word has never been said.
Oh, thank you.
I want to educate you about Goblin Cats.
Oh God, yeah, go on. What's a goblin cat?
So there is a picture online which is like a graph of the scale, but it's kind of like a grid of the scale of type of cat.
The scale of type of cat?
There are three kinds of cat. There's goblin, normal, and then I think it might be like super fluffy. I think it's the three kinds of cat.
Okay.
And there are two cats on my estate that we have always thought was one cat that came into our garden and pooped in our vegetables.
Right.
But it's two, and I know this because I saw them together the other day.
Ah.
So they're black and white cats. There's one that looks like a normal cat, and then there's one that looks like a goblin cat. And goblin cats generally have pointier faces and pointier ears. Almost, it looks like they have a bigger nose than a normal cat. And
I am actually kind of getting an image that makes sense.
Today when I was walking my dog, I walked past the goblin cat that was sat on its doorstep and I yelled, "Good morning, goblin cat!"
I'm sure the owners would have really appreciated it.
Yeah, I realised that the owners are probably in the house and don't know that I have such a deep relationship with their cat to be calling it goblin cat.
I don't know, maybe they have also done their cat research. They're just delighted to have a fellow feline appreciator.
Yeah, but I don't appreciate cats because I'm allergic to them, and to be honest, I think they're quite rude.
To mitigate the sting that you will all have felt by that, I love cats.
I just want to educate the masses on the fact that goblin cats exist. I've seen one in the world. Watch out for your gold. The goblins will steal it.
Something I've been up to this week is I've sort of got into watching Poldark. I say that cautiously because I literally mean yesterday afternoon I watched like 3 episodes and went, yeah, it's all right. Has anyone else who's watched Poldark been really befuddled by the time scale of it? Because I started watching it and he was in love with one woman and then this other woman he thought was a male child and then took in and was like, oh, right, it's a girl. So I was like, oh, well, I know that these people are, yeah, and Martha's making faces at me, and yeah, I know.
Imagine adopting a child and then being like, oh, you're all right.
I know, well, that's the thing.
Creepy.
To be fair.
Was she like a woman, is my question.
Yeah, she's a woman. Yes, that's the first episode. And then the second episode, the woman he loved is married to someone else. And at the end of that episode, she's pregnant, and the girl that he thought was a boy is now his serving girl. Third episode, woman's had the baby, he marries serving girl, and then she's pregnant. And the episode after that, she has the baby. It's really hard to keep track of because I thought it was going to be this sweet little love story. It's like an epic. As it's your mum, isn't it, who calls it granny porn?
Yes.
Which is something that Martha's said to me before, and I'm not knowing exactly what she's meant. But having seen 4 episodes of it, I absolutely get it. Because it's just the most PG sauciness. And then every now and then they'll kind of interrupt the plot to just have Aidan Turner sort of scything in a field with his shirt off. and it will just be lovely little folk music in the background, and oh look, he's scything, and there's a sunset, and then there'll be waves crashing on a rock. Just passage of time in a very vaguely erotic way.
I would say that's an excellent device, and I would like to see more of it.
What, passage of time in a really vaguely erotic way?
Yes, I think that's excellent.
I feel like you'd run out of ways to do it though, wouldn't you? Because it'd be like, all right, so here's this lady in her bath, and now she's in her bath, but it's a year later, and you can tell because, I don't know, her soap's run out. And this guy's scything, and now he's scything, but the field is no longer green.
Perhaps later in your Poldark viewing, you could let me know how they keep it fresh with the passage of time.
Martha is currently whipping her head back and forth, looking out of her window. What are you looking at?
I'll just describe to you, first of all, the position of my windows. I've got one window to my left, one to my right, and then like a block of wall that's half a meter, so I always miss all the fun things that are directly in front of me. A big green truck is trying to get down the street, but because so many people are at home at the moment, this truck can't actually get down the street, and I was just enjoying watching someone try and drive.
Vaguely sad. I was going to say it was really sad. I'm not that mad about it.
One thing that I like doing, which I think might psych drivers out, it would psych me out while I was driving, I like to watch drivers perform maneuvers, because I haven't been allowed to drive my car by myself very often recently. I think it's a good way to put it.
Yeah, there we are.
I haven't had a lot of practice doing maneuvers.
Yeah.
And so I like to watch other people do them to see, like, if they do it really well, I could be like, oh, I'll take a note of how they did that. Or if they do it really badly, then I'm like, well, I've never done that badly.
So it's a bit of a win-win.
Yeah, exactly. And if they're like middling, then I wouldn't know, because I'm not, you know, the Simon Cowell of driving cars.
Yeah. And have you watched any movies over the past week that they're talking about?
No, but I did watch last night The Madness of King George III by the National Theatre.
Yes.
It's good, but it's so sad.
Yeah.
Because it's basically about George III, who had a medical condition which now they think they know what it was. It wasn't rooted in mental illness.
No, I know, because his wee was blue and stuff, wasn't it? Like, it was a physical ailment that affected his mental faculties.
Yeah, and he has all of these doctors that I don't think are evil, although they might be, but they just don't know what to do for him, so they have all of their old theories, like bleed him, blister him, and
God.
He's like not doing well, and it's like it's hard to watch.
Yeah, I tell you what, I think that's interesting. I think it's upsetting specifically to watch outdated medical procedures being performed in situations where, you know, even like to a very small extent, to the majority of us that aren't doctors, that is not the way to go about it.
I looked up what they think George III had, and it's porphyria, which is basically the buildup of natural chemicals in your body that everyone has to help hemoglobin, but I think you just have too much of it.
Oh God.
And it causes like stomach cramps and seizures, and also probably why they thought George III was mad, I'm doing air quotes, is because it also causes paranoia.
Yeah, I would like to watch it.
It's sad because like you said, like
it's nowadays you can just do a thing in a few days or they'll be fine.
Well, I will say here that there isn't a cure for porphyria.
Okay,
but
fair enough.
They definitely don't blister your skin for it.
No, or like say, oh God, the king is mad.
Speaking of giving birth lying on your back, I think the first time I and a lot of people in our class witnessed a birth not lying down was in Roots.
Oh God, yeah.
Do you remember watching that in history?
I do remember watching it. I don't remember a birth scene though.
I think it's his birth, and
right at the beginning.
And his mother is like squatting, and I remember one of the girls in our class being like, why was she squatting to give birth?
Because that's way better.
Yeah, and our teacher being like, because it's better to give birth that way.
Yeah.
And the only reason people give birth on their backs now is because medicine was designed by men. But I don't know, I've never given birth, so maybe some people just love just lying down and squeezing it out.
Yeah, but we do know, medically speaking, that it makes more sense for the body to push out a baby from a certain position, unless obviously if having a C-section, probably don't sit up.
If you're having a
But,
C-section, please lie down and please let the doctors do their thing.
I feel like people don't need us to advise them on that. So like, you do your thing.
Well, they might be listening to it right now, listening to this podcast whilst giving birth and being like, do you know what, this isn't relaxing me. Anyway, that's two people who've never given birth talking about how to give birth.
Woohoo! You are welcome. It's like mansplaining, but like
birth-splaining.
But it's not. We're not births. Actually. Like...
Also, we are births because we've been birthed. Also, I know a lot and can natter a lot about death, and I've never been dead.
True, but then again, there are women who have given birth who could talk about it, but there's no one who's dead who could be like, actually, come on now.
There are people who have died and come back and been like, hey, this is what happened when I died.
That's true, and they can do that, and that's fine.
Please do tell us, if you died, what it was like, because I find that interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
If you died, please send in your experiences on a postcard.
Something that we were initially thinking of focusing on a little bit in this more chatty episode was dream analysis, which I just want to bring up because before recording this episode, I had a little research of some of the meanings of dreams that I've had this week, and all of them, which have all been very different dreams. Like I had a dream that I was in a cellar trying to play the double bass, and I was like, this is a lovely double bass, but I'm not sure how to get a sound out. Another dream where I was trying to look after my cats, but they were tadpoles initially, and then they became cats, and I was trying to... The transition between tadpole and cat was really difficult. Yeah, what were you
Were they mini cats? Were they tiny little cats?
Yes, they were.
Yes, I've had that dream.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Oh my god, see, I couldn't find that specific dream, but it's like, oh, there's tadpoles in... I had them in like a little Tupperware, and I was going to take them into a pond or something, and then they started boinging all over the place. I was like, oh no, they've become frogs. And they hadn't, they'd become cats. You've legit had this dream as well.
I've legitimately had that dream. So in my version of the dream, I was in my old kitchen and I had a cup of these tadpoles, and I was like, oh great, here's my cup of tadpoles. But I didn't have a plan like you. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to take them to the pond. I knew I was maybe going to put them in a tank to look after them, and then all of a sudden they went everywhere.
Yes. And
I was like, oh, they won't survive out of the water, I need to gather them.
Me too.
And then I was like opening pots of sugar, and they were tiny little cats.
Like literally like one joint of your finger size cats.
Yes, tiny cats.
Yeah.
And I kept gathering them.
As well?
Some. So I gathered them, and then other ones were left too long and they died.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had to put, even though they clearly could survive out of the water because they were cat. You'd gather some of them back in, and some of them you just see like a squashed cat, even though you hadn't squashed it. Oh my, okay.
That's so spooky.
We genuinely didn't plan this at all.
No, this has reached a new level of
spooky. A lot of the time, it will be that I'm really heavily pregnant, and I keep just trying to go about my day and then going, oh God, I'm really pregnant. And then I'll have a baby, also forget about that, be going about my day and go, oh my God, I have a baby. And be trying to like find where I've put it and keep it, alive.
It's funny how dreams work like that, where in your dream you half know, no, I'm not pregnant and I don't have a baby, and then you also know it to be a fact that you are pregnant or you have a baby. So you're like, well, what's the truth here?
Exactly. Really weird disparity.
The dream that I wanted to tell you about was actually a dream that you were in. So in
one of the ones where I was just being awful.
Yeah, so in pretty much all of my dreams, Martha is mean to me.
I want to hop in at this point and say, in life, I'm not.
No, I was about to say, in life, you're very lovely to me.
Thank you.
And not mean to me at all, especially not in the ways that you're mean to me in dreams. So I don't think it's actually you. I think it's an embodiment of a person.
Yeah, or a friend or whatever. And it's like, that is a face of a friend.
So in my most recent dream about the theatre, I was playing Prospero in a show that Martha was directing and starring in of The Tempest.
Wait,
And
what was I starring as if you were Prospero?
you were Desdemona.
Desdemona's Othello. Do you mean Miranda?
Oh, stupid old Miranda then. I don't know.
So,
They're all the same to me.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, any dutiful daughter or wife in Shakespeare.
Yeah, quite similar.
Honestly, throw them in a pot and mix them together and I would not be surprised if they came out the same.
Yeah. This is completely not the most important part of this. But I, in my head, went, I can't believe you think if I directed a production of A Tempest, I'd cast myself as Miranda.
Well, you did.
Crap, Rob. But there we are. You go on.
You did. And you cast me as Prospero. And it wasn't even just like a little performance of it. Like we had built up the stage. There were sets. There was a whole cast of loads of people playing water spirits. And I was like, I don't know any of my lines. Then I kept doing the play with you, making up the lines. And you were like, these aren't the lines, because we study The Tempest. So I, in my mind, obviously knew some of Prospero's lines, like I knew the gist. So I was just kind of like, hey Miranda, let's go see Caliban. And so you would like be angrily trying to tell me the lines, but we were on stage. We get to the end of The Tempest. So far I'd muddled through. Like people weren't loving the show and you were angry with me, but no one had replaced me yet.
I would be angry with you in that situation. My thing is I'm a big old empath, which basically just means I like absorb everyone's emotions in the room, which you might think is cool if you're not an empath. It's not at all, because it just means you like walk into a room of people and you're like, I have no idea how I feel because I am feeling a whole mess of everyone else's emotions.
If someone is sad but they're pretending to be happy, what do you get?
Sad.
Oh, interesting. Even if they're really good at it.
Yeah,
well, then you wouldn't know.
It's a good point.
If they're really good at it, you would have thought they were happy.
I feel like to an extent you can, partly just as a survival mechanism, kid yourself. You're like, well, they're acting happy, so I'm just going to go along with that. But you just pick up on it. And my sort of proudest empath moment, you may remember this from your perspective, Martha. We were about to do our AS level, as it once was, drama monologues, and I was in one room in our drama studio and everyone else was in the changing rooms, which was 3 doors away. So I looked up and went, something's wrong. And like at that exact moment our mutual friend burst out of the changing rooms crying, and I was like, it was a little bit scary because I couldn't hear anything obviously that was going on, and I was like and this guy was like, how did you know? And I was like, I don't know. I don't think being an empath, same with like the HSP, highly sensitive person thing, I don't think either of those are like diagnoses, you know. So that it all just people going, you know what, I think I feel this on a different level. I think it's a thing because it's just the pure feeling of emotions that other people are feeling.
I agree, because for example there are some people who can watch a video of someone, I don't know, falling off a swing and be like, oh, ha ha ha, how funny. Yeah. And then there are other people who can be like, oh, that really would have hurt.
Yeah, I get that. You get like empathy pains. I always get them in my bum, interestingly. Someone will scrape their elbow and I'm like, oh, my ass.
Today, my mum made me jump and I feel like this is dramatic, but I don't think it is. All my blood went to my wrists in panic. I know, that's what it felt like. I felt a blood rush to my wrists and I was like, oh, what's that?
Panic responses are so interesting. I find I go like quite cold straight away if it's like an immediate
when you're surprised
situation.
When you're shocked.
Well, if like shock and dread, if it's quick.
I generally get a stomach ache and then I get angry.
My sort of deep dreads are things like, you know, someone going, hey Martha, I think we need to have a chat. I'd be like,
can we I think we need to have a conversation. No, we don't. Tell me here what's going on.
Yeah, like tell me right now, or ideally just delete our entire relationship past so that I don't have to be here at this point.
Or just tell me.
Yeah.
You know, I think
we need to have a chat. Like, you're talking to me now. Please just say the thing.
Yeah. Also, generally, if I'm panicking, I get loads of blood rush in my ears, which means I can't actually listen to anyone.
Oh, bless you.
It doesn't always happen, but like if I get the we need to have a conversation or any variant of that, I get the ear blood rush, and then I'm sort of like, okay, whatever you say to me now, I won't be able to hear it. So if you could just come out with the sentence that you're going to build up to
actually process it. I get weirdly when I'm nervous or panicked, this is more nerves for like an audition or an exam or something like that. So a different and very much preferable feeling to the dread of, I feel like I've done something horribly wrong and this person I love will now hate me. My wrists, it's interesting that you say your blood rushes to your wrist, because mine go all tingly and I start going into a kind of weird upwards claw shape, and then I can't get them out of that shape, which is really inconvenient because, again, as a violinist, things I get nervous for very much include violin exams and auditions, and my hands are stuck in these claws, so I'm just like,
perhaps claw hands isn't a good instrument
for pretty much anything.
hand position. I don't generally get the blood rush to my wrist. It just happened today, and that's why I shared it with you, because I was mostly surprised of what had happened. I was like, whoa.
What will this help me with?
Can I tell you about another version of dreams that I have? It's dreams where things happen so realistically that I can't figure out whether they happened or whether they didn't happen and they were just
I have
in
a
my
good
dream.
story for this. You go first.
Well, I've just had a couple. Like, I remember I had a dream that I had an argument with my mum, and I came downstairs the next day and I was like, oh, I'm really sorry. And she was like, what?
It's nice that was your reaction, rather than coming downstairs and being like, oh, you again. And your poor mum being, what?
Well, there are definitely people where I've had a dream where they've been rude to me and I've then ignored them for the rest of the day.
Oh my God.
The recent one that made me think of this is I need a sponge to clean my bathroom, or a bathroom cleaning utensil. In my dream, I asked my mum for one while she was cleaning with a sponge.
Yeah.
And then she shrieked, no, you absolutely can't, and then ran away with loads of sponges, which, like, obviously isn't the most realistic thing, but if you knew my mum, it could
I can't
happen.
imagine her doing that.
And so I was when I woke up, I was like, I suppose that happened at some point in my life. And the next day, I didn't ask her. I was like, well, I won't ask for a sponge then, because
this is the reaction I get. I've had it before where I have dreamed specifically a reenactment of something historical, which isn't actually something historical, but because I dreamed it as a reenactment, I've got confused. So for basically the upshot of this dream was that for many years of my youth, I thought there was a Tudor queen who died from playing cards. I'm in a dream, I'm sitting in a kind of amphitheatre type thing, but like a really, should I just say amphitheatre. There are two, badly paid Merlin Entertainment actors trying to reenact this scene. And it's one queen just being really mean and the other queen being like, oh no, yes, you're right. And then they were just playing cards. And then the other queen started fanning her really fast with this deck of cards. And she was like, you must blink in time with the cards. And she gets overwhelmed and collapses. And then I remember they were like, and children, come in and do some interpretive dance around how you would feel if you were killed by a card game. So I was just like draping myself over the stairs. And then I woke up like, well, what an interesting way of getting that story across. And somehow I sort of thought that it had happened.
I think I would have really loved that if, oh, my neighbour's dogs are barking. They have like massive, now what do they call these dogs? The dogs that were bred to hunt lions. Dig to hunt lions. Good. Really glad that I can spell dog. I think I'm wrong about the breed of dog that they have, because these dogs that I'm looking at are not the dogs that I can see. But the dog that was bred to hunt lions, just in case anyone's wondering, is the Rhodesian Ridgeback. But if you look up one of those dogs, then you'll see vaguely what my neighbour's dogs look like, but they're kind of smaller. And I don't think they could hunt a lion. They might. I don't know.
One way to find out.
My neighbours are like, where are my dogs one morning? And I'm off in Africa. I wouldn't actually do that because I like lions. Maybe the zoo. I take your dogs down to the safari, right? And then what happened to them? Turns out they aren't Rhodesian Ridgebacks, as it happens. What was I going on about before these dogs? I would have loved it if you had told someone else about it and been like, yeah, the queen that died playing cards.
I had horrifying images afterwards of like the narrow escape I'd had from, history presentations. Oh, no one talks about this. That'd be so interesting. It's, I think, serious things not taken seriously. Well, that depends. If you're like arranging a funeral, don't start, squeaking your clown nose, please. Unless it's really warranted.
Yeah, I will say though, if you're organising a clown funeral, I've heard that it is popular for everyone to attend as a clown.
Is that true?
For some, yeah.
That's really cool.
For some clowns, that everyone, all their guests are clowns, and it's great.
Oh, I like that a lot. I wonder, because I'm
I
just thinking, because like clowning, obviously it depends, but if you take your clowning really seriously, you'll often have like a clown persona in a similar way to like drag personae that people might have as careers. And I'm wondering if any drag artists might consider encouraging people to turn up to their funerals in drag or just in sort of more performative stuff. I think that would be really cool.
I think that would definitely be something that certain people would go for.
That would be
As
cool.
either
Your drag persona or just give it a go. Talk about would you rather questions, weren't we?
We're going to do would you rather questions, and I've just seen one. I think we've done this one before.
All right,
and I think I know what your answer will be, but I do want to know your answer anyway. I want to hear your thoughts on it. Know you smell like poo, or always smell poo no one else can smell.
That's fantastic. I think I would pick being able to always smell poo that others cannot smell, because I think otherwise being aware that you always smell like poo, if it is that you genuinely smell like poo, you'd be able to smell poo anyway because it's on you, but regardless, if it's just you will smell like poo but you won't smell the poo.
That's just so true.
Martha was just making a face that I have hacked this. Yeah, I think I don't know if it's supposed to be kind of taken as read that you can't smell the poo on you.
Oh, but you always know you smell of it.
Yeah, like, well, because people will be like, Martha, I don't want to be rude, but you really smell like poo. Like,
or
there,
just that you
need something,
or just that you know it. Okay, so if it is that you know it, no one really says. Sometimes every now and then a well-meaning person will offer you some deodorant or a change of pants, but like generally you just know it and other people don't sit near you.
Yeah.
Or you can always smell feces but other people can't, and that's fine.
Yeah, I would still go with that, because I think while it would obviously be quite nauseating and not pleasant, I always would prefer to feel a bit uncomfortable myself than to have other people avoid me.
I agree with you, but I will say that I dislike it when people come and sit on the bus next to me.
Oh, I do as well.
If I could just smell like poo for when they're deciding who to sit on next to on the bus.
If you could have a poo switch.
Well, I suppose, Martha, I do have a poo switch, but it's quite a messy poo switch, and I don't want to
it's called
poo
a
on the bus.
Yeah. Really good point. Imagine if we could just poo at will. We can.
But
we've hacked the system.
But I will say, yeah, I agree with you. On average, I would much rather always be able to sniff poo somewhere near me than
the knowledge that you smell of poo. And I may be wrong, but off the top of my head, I don't think there's any feeling as uncomfortable as knowing that people don't want to be near you, or that people dislike
like emotional
you.
Feeling.
Exactly, like that. Yeah, obviously, like being flayed alive. Presumably, you'd prefer to have people go, "Oh, I don't want to sit with you." Sorry, I kind of jumped to an extreme.
I'll just verbalise what just happened to me. Martha said flayed alive whilst I was drinking water, which I want to do as a human, but that made me laugh. There is a predisposition in my family for drowning whilst drinking. That began to happen to me, so I've had to spit my water out, which I probably will drink later because I've done it before. And do you remember that story I told you guys once at D&D where then no one would speak to me afterwards?
I do, and I plead that you not share it with anyone else.
Yeah, so anyway, I just nearly drowned. Yes, the most emotionally uncomfortable thing is people don't want to be near you, but I think it would be more upsetting if it was to do with your personality than your smell.
Yes,
because if
true.
You went up to someone and you said, why does no one ever want to sit near me? And they went, listen, Martha, the thing is you just absolutely always smell of feces.
Yeah, it would be less of an assault on who you are. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to take a sip of water. Don't say flayed alive.
I won't. Instead, I will look up a would you rather for your consideration.
I swallowed really fast so you couldn't make me laugh. Would you rather have a cat with a human face or a dog with human hands for paws?
A dog with human hands, that's much less alarming. Like, the human face would convey human expression and therefore appear sentient as a human, and I could not deal with that.
The other freaky thing about having a human face on a cat would be that it wouldn't speak, because I was kind of thinking like, oh, you could have a chat with your cat, but no, it would just be a cat. It would be a cat with a human face.
Exactly. It wouldn't have
lick
the same
itself.
intelligence. Oh my god. Yeah, that's true.
Whereas if your dog had human hands for feet, you could be like, can you please go to the fridge and open like a beer?
Bring
I don't
me
drink
the milk.
beer, but you could.
That's such a good point.
Please could you go and check the door's locked? Like, and because dogs understand commands, so you just give it different commands that it could do with its hands. Hand commands.
Hand commands. I'm just picturing like just the sound of a dog coming into your room would now be like
That's so horrible.
Which is horrifying. But absolutely that one. That's just definitely less horrific.
I wonder if in winter you would have to buy him gloves. As you were.
Well, I'm going to say one that I haven't fully formulated yet, and it's going to be weird. But okay. So, would you rather be able to give the best advice that everyone like really takes to heart and is grateful for, but every time you give that advice, you look more and more like a donkey, or would you rather communicate with all animals, but people start to trust you less and less every time you do it?
I thought you were going to say be able to give the best advice, but no one ever takes it.
Yeah, no.
Which would be so frustrating.
I know.
Because you would be like, I know exactly what you need to do. I can basically see your future.
Yeah, because I'm saying it and I have this thing, I know that this is what you should do, but I also know that if I tell you it, you definitely won't do it.
Imagine, right, this would be amazing. If you had that and you knew that if you told someone the advice, they wouldn't take it, but you really like the person. So you try and like privately influence them to do things, to be like, well, they won't listen to me, but maybe if I put this in their path, they might do it.
Yeah, then your last resort would just be giving them all pieces of advice except for the option that you want them to go for, because you know they can't go for the advice that you will give them.
So it's I give great advice, but I look more like a donkey, and then
each time I give it,
and then the other option is I can talk to animals, but no one ever trusts me.
The more you talk to animals, the less people trust you.
I would love to talk to animals to start with. I don't think they have a lot to say, but I'd be interested in what they are saying. I'd also love to talk to my dog, and if I had a lovely dog that would tell me his little secret dog thoughts, I really wouldn't care what people thought of me.
Good point, actually. But that is a good point, because if you don't mind not seeing people much or not having people like you much, you'd still have a social network. It would just be of animals.
Yeah, but they would not talk intelligently at all. And also, I think if I was aware, I probably wouldn't be aware that people would trust me less. But if I was, then I'd probably say, listen, I know that you're feeling a strong distrust towards me, but can I say, in my defense, it is because I talk to animals. And that's probably why they don't trust me. They'd be like, you're clearly lying.
Yeah, true.
But ultimately, I would go for the gives great advice but looks more like a donkey, only if people would listen to it. Because I'd say, I have some great advice for you now. Okay, good. Because my point would be is that if I was sacrificing some of my beautiful good looks to give someone advice on what to do with their life,
they better bloody use it.
They better use it. They better put it to good use.
I think after a few bits of advice, people would realise that you're sacrificing something in order to advise them to do something. So they would naturally take your advice more, because they know that you wouldn't be saying it if you weren't absolutely sure that it was really good advice.
But then at the same time, I love giving advice to people, but if it was advice that was really good and important advice, fair enough. But if someone came to me like, oh, I don't know whether to get a fringe or not, I'd be like,
I'm not looking like a donkey for this.
I'd be like, don't get me involved, because I will want to help you. I'm going to start growing a tail soon, and I need to not have a tail. So please don't ask me about trivial things.
Like, both of the things, like being able to give good advice that people take and talking to animals are both great. And all I've really done is like, would you rather look like a donkey or have people not trust you?
That is true. Yeah, that's what you have done. But also a portion of it is a kind of, the donkey one is more of a selfless act, because you're you're sacrificing something of
Something
yourself
of yours, that's true.
for other people if it will benefit their lives, whereas the animals one is like, I hate all people, you can not trust me if you want, I'm gonna chat to my dog. But I don't know, it's a toughie, because I don't want to look like a donkey. But at the same time, I love talking to animals, but I don't want people not to trust me.
I feel like I might end up doing, just to keep the maximum people happy, would be to choose the animal one, but then just blank all animals. But then I'd feel awful about blanking the animals.
Thank you for listening to the Other Marthas podcast. If you enjoyed hearing us talk about things we're not qualified to talk about, then please subscribe to our channel.